Aloha everyone, this is Chesapeake Movie Thoughts, and this video is a continuation of another video. This is my top 10 cartoons. Top 10 theatrical cartoons of all time, my personal list. It's completely subjective. I explained it more in the previous video. If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. That'll be the top 20. Covering from 20 to 11, but this is the top 10. Now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. We're covering my top 10 favorite cartoons, and we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna be looking at a Tex Avery cartoon now at number 10, Northwest Hounded Police. One of the Tex Avery cartoons he did for MGM, and this one stars Droopy. Yeah, and Droopy is an interesting character. Droopy is whole shtick, well, other than, just always having this, very monotone kind of voice. His whole shtick is that, when he's chasing someone, regardless of how impossible it may seem, every time he turns around, Droopy's there. And they make whole cartoons off of that premise, and they are hysterical, and this is the best one of them. This one is Northwest Hounded Police. Slick Wolf, he busts out of prison, and he does it by drawing a door. He draws a door on the cell. That's one thing about these Tex Avery cartoons. Absurdity, breaking the fourth wall, that's the kind of humor you expect in this. Just complete nonsense. Just completely ridiculous, off the wall. Anything from left field goes. That's the beauty of the Tex Avery cartoons that he did for MGM. And in this one, all of that is done as Slick Wolf escapes prison, flees to Canada, where the Mounties send Sergeant McPoodle, who was played by Droopy, out to bring him to justice. And everywhere he runs and does all sorts of ridiculous things to get away, and no matter how far he's run, how remote it is, every time he turns around, Droopy is just there. For no reason, no explanation, he's just there. And that's hysterical. I mean, it's just like simple concepts like that can really make some great gags in these cartoons. Number 9 is a Donald Duck cartoon. You know how sometimes a favorite can be less about the work itself, a favorite movie or something like that can be less about the work itself, and more about the experience that you had the first time you saw it. And that's why I'm including Working for Peanuts here at number 9. That is a Donald Duck cartoon that also stars Chip and Dale. And it features Chip and Dale discovering that the nearby zoo, there has an elephant where people are just throwing peanuts to the elephant, and they want to get in on that action. They want to get some of those peanuts, and Donald is the zookeeper. So Donald and the elephant are running interference on these chipmunks. And this was made in 3D. Now, I don't have it in 3D, I just have it on a DVD. But in this one, it's because it was made in 3D. This was made like the mid-50s, when there was a 3D craze going on. One of the other times there was a 3D craze going on. And because of that, it's been used when, like, other times where there are 3D movie presentations as sort of a pre-show. And that's where I first saw it. I first saw it as a pre-show in Walt Disney World, during my first trip to Walt Disney World. And at the time, the Magic Kingdom was showing a 3D movie. One had moved there from Epcot after Captain EO started showing at Epcot. It was called Magic Journeys, and the pre-show was Working for Peanuts, and I was on such an emotional high. I mean, if you've been to Walt Disney World, you know how awesome it is, and I just loved everything, everything and anything going on there. So I have very fond memories of this cartoon. Also, some really good gags involving Donald in this, and if you watch, you can tell where, like, it was supposed to look good in 3D. You can see where some of the gags are, like, coming at the screen in this movie, or this cartoon in particular. Number 8 is Magical Maestro. This is another Tex Avery cartoon. I believe the character, I think it's Butch the Bulldog, is really the only recurring Tex Avery character that you see in this. He's an opera singer, and a magician comes up to him and offers to become part of his act. And he turns him down rudely, so the magician decides to get revenge by impersonating the conductor and then using his magic wand to conduct, thus causing lots of crazy magical gags to interrupt the opera performance. And this is another one where you time the gags to the music and it gets even funnier. In this case, you see, it's like there's nothing more going on here than just a series of gags, just of like ridiculous, crazy things happening to an opera singer. Those that, for who, of course, this goes with the territory with these cartoons. Every once in a while, some of those old racial stereotypes are going to be in it. A couple of those are in this one. If that ruins the cartoon for you, you might want to skip this one. But the rest of it is pretty hilarious. Okay, number 7. Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century. Daffy Duck, Marvin the Martian, Porky Pig. This one, Daffy Duck at his egotistical best, is cast as a space hero who is loving being a space hero. He announces his name proudly several times during the cartoon. And he's sent to find the last supply of alluvium phosphate, the shaving cream atom, in the mysterious Planet X. And he tries to claim Planet X, but Marvin the Martian also shows up and tries to claim Planet X. So it's a battle between the two of them to see who gets the planet. And this is a classic against Chuck Jones. I think every Looney Tunes cartoon I've got on my list is a Chuck Jones cartoon. His style's just fan. I just love his style. I'm going to talk more about that in another entry in this list. But this one, of course, I love science fiction. I love space operas, and this just brings some of that Daffy Duck humor into it, and that just makes for an awesome cartoon. And this one is recognized as a classic quite frequently. I think pretty much everything left on my list is often recognized as a classic, as one of the most beloved cartoons of all time. I'm going to go into number 6. Number 6 is Through the Mirror. Through the Mirror is a Mickey Mouse cartoon. It's an excellent demonstration of the style of humor you get with Mickey Mouse. Because Mickey Mouse is not intrinsically the funniest Disney character. But he's not so much, like a lot of cartoon characters, you would compare them to comedians of the time. You might compare them to Buster Keaton. You might compare them to Groucho Marx or the Marx Brothers. You might compare them to the Three Stooges or Abbott and Costello. Mickey's not exactly like that. Mickey's not so much. He's more the leading man, and he's kind of a song and dance guy too. So he's kind of like a Gene Kelly or a Fred Astaire. And you see that very much in this one. Mickey falls asleep reading Alice Through the Looking Glass and dreams that he steps through his looking glass and is in a version of his house where all of his objects come to life, and he shrinks down and just kind of enjoys it and has fun with it, does some dancing until things get out of hand, and he runs back to his version of his home and wakes up. And it's just charming. And that's what you get from Mickey Mouse. It's not the laugh out loud funny. It's kind of amusing, but it's just fun, joyous dancing and just enjoying life. And that's what you get with Mickey Mouse. The Mickey Mouse is different in that way. And I'm glad we have a Mickey Mouse. And I'm glad he's so important as such a central figure in these classic cartoons. Number 5, continuing on with Mickey Mouse, another Mickey Mouse cartoon, Hawaiian Holiday. And this is a Mickey Mouse cartoon that brings together the Fab Five, as they call it. That's Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, and Pluto. And what I like about this one, not only is because they're on vacation, they've got like a nice tropical setting, which is always fun, but also each one is kind of doing their own thing, and it kind of exemplifies their own unique style. Mickey is playing a ukulele for Minnie, and he's doing a little dance across strings with his hands. Donald is trying to dance the hula and catches his tail on fire. Pluto is running afoul of various smaller creatures that he runs into on the beach. And Goofy is trying to surf and not succeeding. This is, if you wanted to see exactly what you would expect, what kind of humor you expect from each one of these characters, it's in this cartoon. And I love this cartoon. It's a wonderful cartoon. Number 4. This is kind of cheating, but I'm going to go with the Hunting Trilogy for number 4, which is 3 cartoons, not 1. But it's hard to evaluate these 3 on their own, because they're all the same thing. It's 3 cartoons, all based upon the premise that it is duck season, and Daffy Duck is trying to convince Elmer Fudd that it's rabbit season instead, so that he will shoot bugs and not him. And this takes the common scenario you see in other Bugs Bunny cartoons, where you have Bugs Bunny being hunted by Elmer Fudd, and Bugs Bunny he has his normal tricks that he does. He's got his disguises and wordplay, which he just turns things around on Elmer Fudd. But you add the extra element of Daffy trying to manipulate the situation to his advantage, and you get something just incredibly funny. And Chuck Jones did all 3 of these cartoons. If I didn't mention their names before, they are Rabbit Fire, it's the first one, then Rabbit Seasoning, and then Duck, Rabbit, Duck. And all the same premise, the only thing that's different is the gags. Just the way that, of course, Daffy, he's like completely egotistical, completely full of himself, but he never succeeds at anything, and is always the cause of his own misery. He's always trying to outwit Bugs, and he's failing miserably at it. It's just, these cartoons are brilliant. These are brilliant, and what I like about Chuck Jones, and you see it in these cartoons especially, is that you get what you expect from cartoons. You get the exaggerations, you get the wild stuff. Daffy's beak is flying all over his face, things like that. But then with Chuck Jones understood that, subtlety can also be very funny. Sometimes he can just have a character just flick their eyes towards the screen. It's hilarious. Just a subtle movement like that. You can have it broad, and you can have it subtle. And this one has the physical comedy. It has the wordplay. It's like Abbott and Costello routines, pronoun trouble going on in there. Like, pronoun trouble is one of my favorite gags. And when you think of cartoons, you think of like anvils and things like that. But one of my favorite gags in a cartoon is pronoun trouble. I just like Chuck Jones. I just love the way Chuck Jones works. I mean, because Chuck Jones, he can do the broad, he can do the subtle, he can do the physical comedy, and he can do the verbal comedy. He's great at all of those things. Great at bringing all of those to the. And I guess I have to give credit to voice actor Mel Blanc, who did most of these Looney Tunes voices. I mean, it wouldn't be as good if Mel Blanc wasn't able to voice it as well, as in addition to Chuck Jones's direction. Number 3 is The Art of Skiing. This is actually the highest ranking Disney cartoon and the highest ranking Goofy cartoon on the list, even though Goofy is my favorite all-time cartoon character. Strangely enough, I don't really consider any of his cartoons to be my absolute favorite. Third is the best it comes up to. The Art of Skiing. The Art of Skiing is another how-to cartoon where the narrator is explaining what's going on, what we're supposed to be seeing, and Goofy is trying to do it, but he's doing it in his own clumsy, goofy way, and it ends up being hilarious. And this is the cartoon where the Goofy holler originated, and also probably where it is best used, on the ski jump. That's probably the most memorable use of the Goofy holler. Again, Goofy, he'll just take a wallop and he'll just like, turn around and just smile, laugh at himself, and keep going. And I love that about Goofy. And this is one of the best examples of that. One of the best examples of the how-to kind of formula that they came up with for Goofy. And some of the greatest, most memorable Goofy gags are in this cartoon. Number 2 is Rabbit of Seville. Now, we've seen it on this list before, where classical music comes in and you set the gags to the classical music and they become even funnier. This one has the whole cartoon is set to the music from The Barber of Seville, and you've got Bugs being chased into a theater where they're about to perform The Barber of Seville by Elmer Fudd. And to get away from Elmer Fudd, he goes on stage as the curtain's rising, starts to play the part of a barber, and starts doing various gags, barber-style gags, to Elmer Fudd's head and face, in all set to the music from The Barber of Seville. And like I said before, you add that timing to the music, and these gags get even funnier. And that's why this is like my second favorite cartoon. Again, Chuck Jones, another Chuck Jones cartoon. And we're going to go to my absolute number 1 all-time favorite cartoon ever, Duck Amuck. A Daffy Duck cartoon starring Daffy Duck and no one else, except for a cameo. Daffy Duck starts off as like a musketeer-type character, and pretty soon runs out of scenery. And he talks directly to his animator, complaining about the lack of scenery. He ends up just on a blank page behind him. And the rest of the cartoon is Daffy trying to match wits with the animator, who is just delighting at tormenting Daffy the whole time. And it's like, this is Daffy at his best. This is like fourth wall breaking humor, which I love. This is like the concept is just incredible. Just okay, we're just gonna. Sometimes like the simplest concepts make the greatest cartoons, and it's like, okay, we're gonna break the fourth wall, have the animator interacting with the character in real time, and just driving him crazy. And if you're gonna drive someone crazy, it should be Daffy, because Daffy deserves it, and he's also the most fun to see go crazy. And that's my all-time favorite cartoon, Duck Amuck. This is another one that's a very classic cartoon. A lot of people love this one. But if you're going to watch any of the cartoons on my list, this one is the one to watch. It's hysterical. It is absolutely hysterical. It's my kind of humor. And I can't say enough good things about this. This one's probably always going to be my favorite classic theatrical cartoon. Okay, hey, I'm probably going to talk more about cartoons in the future because I absolutely love cartoons. I absolutely love animation. But for right now, that's my top 20 list. If you haven't seen the part 1 of this, go back and watch it. Like, comment, subscribe, and that's all, folks.